Grandpa Cacao, A Tale of Chocolate from Farm to Family, written and illustrated by Elizabeth Zunon. Chocolate is my most favorite thing ever. For my birthday, Daddy and I are making our family's special celebration cake, while Mommy goes to pick up another treat. Every one of us loves this cake, even my little brother Denny, who is the pickiest of picky eaters. Chocolate is a gift to you from Grandpa Cacao, Daddy says. We can only enjoy chocolate treats thanks to farmers like him. I've never met Grandpa Cacao, but I've heard his voice on the phone. I can almost picture him, a mystery from Africa, a place I've never been. Tell me again about Grandpa Cacao, I ask. Are you like him? Am I? We're from a land called the Ivory Coast, Daddy says, where I grew up watching big, graceful elephants roam. It's where the air breathes hot and damp, thick with stories and music and the languages of people from tiny villages and big cities. Grandpa Cacao's farm was a pride of his life. The air, the rain, and the soil must be just right for growing cacao. Daddy holds a sieve over the mixing bowl and I pour in the flour. Grandpa Cacao carried the heavy loads through the bush, back and forth to his fields on his wide, calloused feet. That must be where I get my wide boat feet, I say as I added the baking powder. Your Grandpa Cacao spotted the ripe fruits ready to be picked from the forest canopy and cut them right off the tree trunks quickly and precisely, just like the way I can spot the end of summer from tinges of orange at the tips of treetops. He sliced through the skins of the pods without cutting into any of the sticky white beans inside. I carefully sprinkle in the salt. Grandpa Cacao could hold 2 or even 3 whole fruits in one of his rough hands. Like a giant? Did you ever help? I ask. Everybody in the village worked together, says Daddy, as he melts the chocolate and butter. When I turned 7, Grandma let me help gather and scoop out the cacao pods, but only if my schoolwork and chores were done. Grandpa Cacao and the other villagers scoop out millions of cacao beans and put them in big pits in the ground, lined with banana leaves. They stir the cacao beans every few days until they change from white to light brown. Then Grandpa Cacao and the other strong men hoisted the beans out of the pits and onto a cement floor under the sun to dry. Warm whiffs of chocolate wafted through the air. We lugged the beans inside every single night so they wouldn't rot in the morning dew, says Daddy. If tropical storm clouds rolled in, we all rushed to cover up the drying beans so that the mighty rains wouldn't drench them. I bet he could smell the rain a mile away the way I can smell a cold day. When the skins of the dried beans made a cracking sound between your fingers, they were ready to sell, says Daddy. Did they taste like chocolate? I ask. My stomach is grumbling. I wonder what Mommy's bringing home. They taste bitter but always left a sweetness on the tongue. He adds the sugar to our cake batter. Crack, crack, crack. I break 1, 2, 3 eggs into the bowl, but don't let any shells fall in. Daddy mixes as I pour in the milk. Once I got older, says Daddy, I helped your Grandpa Cacao bag up the beans to sell to the cacao buyers. If the roads weren't flooded from the rains, they came to our village in trucks with their big scales and bundles of money to buy our beans. Then they sent them off for chocolate making. Once we sold our cacao beans, we dashed off to the Friday market. It buzzed with every farmer in town eager to spend his hard-earned money. Daddy smiles as he remembers. We used our money to buy food, school supplies, uniforms, books, and fabric to have our special occasion clothes made. Your Grandpa Cacao and I always visited Grandma's fruit stall at the market with a surprise. I take over the mixing while Daddy greases the cake pan. I'm wondering if it's a new party dress that Mommy's gone to get me. You know, you're a lot like your Grandpa Cacao. This makes us both smile. The batter smells more and more chocolatey. I'm getting so hungry. I wonder if Mommy's gone to pick up that puppy I've been wishing for. Grandpa Cacao didn't eat anything chocolate himself, says Daddy, because it was a fancy and expensive treat, but the kids couldn't resist sneaking a taste of the pulp from the cacao fruit or the candy sweet drink we made from it. Daddy dips a finger into the bowl and has a taste. Candy sweet. He hands me the wooden spoon and I start to mix again. But my arms get tired fast. I help by licking the spoon. Almost done, says Daddy as he pours the thick, gooey batter into the greased cake pan like a chocolate waterfall. I scrape the last of it in and think about Grandpa Cacao and all that he did to help make this cake. Daddy pops the pan into the oven and we wait. The batter rises and slowly bakes. I can smell the chocolatiness oozing from the oven and I can't wait to taste it. As I help wipe the counters, the doorbell rings and the oven timer goes off. "My cake is baked! Mommy's home! Get the forks!" I yelled. I run to the front door. Mommy walks in with a hunched-over man I've never seen. "Happy birthday," he says to me with an accent that sounds like Daddy's, and that voice I've heard on the phone. He's an old man, the same color as me. He's got my same small ears and Daddy's smell, and he looks at me like he's known me forever. He pulls me into a strong hug, then offers me a big oval fruit that's yellowish orange. I can feel how rough his hands are as I take it from him. I need both my hands to hold the fruit. "Your birthday present," he says. I recognize his twinkling eyes and I know he is my Grandpa Cacao, the best birthday present ever in the world. Author's note: I spent my childhood in Abidjan, the biggest city in the Ivory Coast. I never saw a cacao tree in real life, but my father told me stories of visiting his father's plantation up in the country as a little boy. His stories, as well as the fact that I never met my own Grandpa Cacao, were the inspiration for this book. I hope to one day return to the Ivory Coast, walk through a real cacao plantation, and hold a real cacao pod in my hand. Cacao is the word used for the tree and the fruit. It is believed to come from a Mayan word. The Mayans referred to cacao as god food. Coca is the word used for the product made from the fruit of the cacao tree, like cocoa powder, which is made in a factory. Cocoa powder can be found in chocolate cakes, chocolate milk, and chocolate bars. The realities of the cacao trade. In recent years, we've heard many stories about child labor in the cacao industry. While some children help out on family farms, there is also a long history of exploitation, which goes back to the colonial era of forced labor. There is a current effort by the big candy companies to ensure that the cacao they buy doesn't come from farms where child or slave labor is used. The government of the Ivory Coast is also trying to clamp down on such practices. What you can do. As a consumer, you can look for chocolate that is certified as fair trade, meaning that it was harvested without child or slave labor and that the cacao farmer received a fair price for his or her beans. The art. To tell Grandpa Cacao's story and the little girl's story simultaneously on the same page, I needed to use two different art techniques that would be complementary to each other yet exist on their own, like quality ingredients that combine to make a scrumptious cake. Depicting Grandpa Cacao and the people in his world in flat, opaque screen print shapes shows how he exists in the little girl's imagination as an almost mythical figure. I painted the tropical background for Grandpa Cacao's world in Africa and the contemporary scenes in oil paint on watercolor paper, using some collage elements in the contemporary scene as well. Then I painted Grandpa Cacao work scene on a silk screen of its own and screen printed it onto its corresponding painted background, and voila, the two worlds became one. Chocolate chunks. The chocolates we eat all around the world comes from cacao trees that grow only in tropical climates near the equator. The Ivory Coast provides 45% of the world's cacao until recently. Ghana, Indonesia, Mexico, and Hawaii also have the perfect hot, wet climate for growing cacao trees. History. The first people in the world to ever eat or drink chocolates were the ancient Maya and Aztecs in what is today Mexico and Guatemala. It is believed that Mayan gods ate the fruits of the cacao tree. The Aztecs worship a god named Quetzalcoatl, who they believe brought the seeds of the cacao tree from the Garden of Life to give to humans. The cacao bean was precious to the Aztecs. They used it to make a special drink called chocolate for important people like Emperor Montezuma. The cacao beans were even used as money. From bean to tree. I helped your Grandpa Cacao bag up the beans to sell to the cacao buyers. If the roads were good, they came to our village in trucks with their big scales and bundles of money to buy our beans. Then they sent them off for chocolate making. Once cacao bean shipments arrive at chocolate factories, mostly in Europe or America, workers empty the big sacks of beans into round, rotating ovens where they are roasted. Then they take a trip on a conveyor belt to a winnowing machine that cracks open the cacao beans to remove their hard, bitter shells and reveal the center or nib of the beans. Next, the cacao beans travel down another conveyor belt to the mixer, whose big, heavy wheels grind and mash them into a thick paste called chocolate liqueur. Cocoa butter is removed from some of the liqueur, which is then crushed into powder and packaged. This cocoa powder will be sold to make chocolate treats. The rest of the chocolate liqueur will be turned into chocolate bars. Workers add sugar and vanilla flavoring to sweeten the chocolate and extra cocoa butter to help make it smooth and silky. All these ingredients are mixed together until they are turned into a coarse paste that is poured into a vat with a metal roller, which grinds the chocolate paste from gritty to smooth. Finally, the chocolate is poured into another mixer where it is tempered. The machine heats, mixes, and cools the chocolate until it is smooth and shiny. It is then squirted into molds where it cools and hardens into chocolate bars. The chocolate bars are then wrapped in paper, packed in boxes, and sent to stores all over the world where you and I can buy them. And here's the chocolate celebration cake recipe so you can try.